A staggering $175 billion. That's how much the United States has committed to helping Ukraine defend itself against Russia since February 2024. This massive sum, part of 5 separate bills, the most recent passed in April 2024, includes $60 billion as part of a broader $95 billion package that also assists Taiwan and Israel. For Ukraine, though, this money represents far more than financial aid. It's a lifeline in a fight for survival. Some of that funding goes toward critical Ukrainian institutions, law enforcement, media, and humanitarian relief, but the vast majority is being used for something much more decisive: weapons. American-made weapons, which many believe could tip the scales in Ukraine's favor, are now flooding the battlefield. This isn't just cash changing hands, it's a calculated effort to ensure Ukraine has the military strength to win. In this video, we'll dive into the cutting-edge American weapons that are giving Ukraine the upper hand against Putin's forces. From armored vehicles to advanced artillery, we'll explore how this military aid is making a tangible difference on the ground. And we'll start with one of the war's biggest game changers, the M2 Bradley fighting vehicle. Lauded by Forbes as the best fighting vehicle out of all being used in the Ukraine war, the M2 is a 10-person, 30-ton vehicle that has a combination of aluminium and steel armor capable of stopping 30mm ammunition at fairly short range. Built by BAE Systems, the Bradley also has reactive armor capable of stopping a 30mm sabot round in its tracks. These types of rounds are often used to destroy tanks, with their clever design seeing the use of a sabot casing to cover a smaller round to stabilize. Once the sabot round leaves the muzzle, the sabot is shed, leaving the smaller round inside, traveling at speeds of up to 3,500 miles per hour, fast enough to pierce solid metal. The Bradley doesn't get pierced. Better yet, its specially made Bradley reactive armor tiles, or BRATs, can even protect it against hollow charge munitions, such as those fired by older anti-tank weapons, commonly used by Russia, and the RPG-7. Throw a 9mm plate onto its belly, and this stunning vehicle also offers its occupants protection against mines. That protection proves vital, seeing as Russia has turned Ukraine into the world's largest minefield, with 67,181 square miles of Ukrainian territory believed to contain these terrible weapons. Of course, a fighting vehicle like the Bradley needs tech that helps it launch attacks too. That tech comes in several forms, including the SADA-2, a second-generation thermal vision system capable of detecting targets at a range of 5 miles. That enormous sighting range proves useful for the Bradley's main weapon, an M242 25mm automatic cannon that can fire both explosive and sabot rounds. Granted, the cannon only has a range of 1.2 miles, but thanks to the SADA-2, Bradley operators can identify a target long before that target knows it's coming, allowing for an element of subterfuge when conducting attacks using the vehicle. Other key features built into the clever design include a small turret that contains a smoke grenade launcher, ring sight, radio antennas, and a coaxial machine gun. Ukraine has received 200 M2 Bradley vehicles as of May 2024, with more likely to come, and it's using them to great effect. A video released in May 2024 showed soldiers using a Bradley to take out a Russian T-80 tank. The charred remains of that tank, seen in the footage, are a testament to both the Bradley's superior weapon systems and the excellent range of maneuverability the vehicle has. Next up, we'll move even closer to the ground to focus on a pair of essentials that every soldier needs: helmets and body armor. By August 2024, the United States has sent more than 100,000 body armor and helmet sets to Ukraine, with more likely following as the US has approved additional funding in the years since. Many of the original batches of these sets were shipped out by a company called Aspeto, which is led by Abbas Haidar, who was featured on Forbes' 2018 list of the most important people under 30 in the manufacturing and industry sector. His company sent 50 pallets of body armor to Ukraine, shipping via southeastern Poland following receipt of a $4.2 million contract from the State Department to produce the armor. The company doesn't specify which types of body armor it sent over. However, it manufactures a wide range, including the 365 plate carrier. This armor, which it claims is designed for speed, is widely used in the US Air Force and weighs less than 6 pounds. It features a cummerbund and side plate pocket, each being capable of holding 7x8-inch hard armored plates. Aspeto also makes a bullet-resistant t-shirt, which can be worn anywhere and is made using a fabric that's 85% nylon and 15% spandex. The shirt features specially shaped ballistic panels designed to deflect bullets away from major organs. Throw a host of concealable carrier armors into the mix, and Ukraine soldiers are spoiled for choice when it comes to what Aspeto can send over. This body armor, along with other supporting equipment, is a far cry from what Russia often makes available. In October 2022, Forbes reported that many new Russian soldiers were being issued with fake body armor, with some even being forced to wear replica armor made for airsoft play. That armor may look like the real thing, but it's not going to offer much protection against a Ukrainian bullet. How about we take to the skies for our next featured American weapon? Introducing the F-16 Fighting Falcon. Now, it would be inaccurate to claim that the United States has provided F-16s to Ukraine. It hasn't, which was an issue that's long been a bone of contention for Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, as he believes having these jets in the air will allow Ukraine to better defend itself against Russian bombs, missiles, and aircraft. But though the US has refused to send any F-16s, it has finally given its allies permission to send theirs. That's resulted in several countries combining to commit 65 of these famous fighter jets to Ukraine, the first of which took to the skies in August 2024. The F-16 has an unusual manufacturing history. The multi-role fighter was the result of the formation of a consortium between the United States and 4 other NATO members: Norway, Denmark, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Together, these countries produced the initial batch of 348 F-16s, with Belgium and the Netherlands hosting the final airframe assembly lines for the jets. Belgium also plays another role, being the main manufacturer of the F-100 engines used in the F-16s that are used by European countries. As such, the US may not even be able to lay full claim to building the F-16s Ukraine's received. Those jets were likely assembled in Belgium and the Netherlands. As for the jet's history, the first F-16 took to the skies in December 1976. This was a single-seat model, though it served more as a prototype than an active jet. The US didn't take the first delivery of this single-seater model in bulk until January 1979, when the first operational F-16 arrived at the Hill Air Force Base in Utah. Several years later, Lockheed Martin, the main manufacturer of the jet, even with the consortium issue in play, developed a two-seater model dubbed the F-16B. This version of the jet has tandem cockpits, each of which is roughly the same size as the single cockpit found in the standard F-16. The jet's bubble canopy was extended to cover both cockpits, with Lockheed Martin reducing the jet's avionics growth space and its forward fuselage cockpit to make room for the second one. Since 1981, every F-16 has had special wiring and structural provisions built into its design to allow for the expansion of its multi-role capabilities. In a sense, the jet now enables a form of modular construction, which its manufacturers have utilized to introduce night attack, precision striking, the beyond visual range interception missiles into more recent versions of the fixed-wing aircraft. These improvements led to the development of the F-16C and F-16D, the upgraded single and two cockpit counterparts of the earlier models, that are now deployed in the Air National Guard and Air Force Reserve. Fast forward to today, and Portugal is now part of the consortium that builds F-16s in Europe. As for the American-made versions of the plane, most are built at Lockheed Martin's facility in Greenville, South Carolina. Through its partnerships, Lockheed Martin has built 3,100 F-16s, which are in use in 27 countries. Ukraine can now count itself among those countries, and it hopes to receive far more than the 65 F-16s it's gotten so far if the war lasts into 2025. It may need them too. Ukraine has already lost one of its 65 F-16s, which crashed late in August after successfully shooting down 4 Russian missiles during a concerted Russian missile and drone attack. Possible causes are still being explored, with pilot error and mechanical failure both more likely to blame than a successful Russian missile strike. Sticking with Lockheed Martin for the time being, the famous American weapons manufacturer also builds another system that Ukraine has put to great use: the Javelin. According to Statista, Ukraine has received 10,000 anti-tank Javelin systems as of January 2024, the majority of which have been delivered by the US. It's also received 50 Javelin command launch units, which are responsible for the weapon's targeting. The Javelin has been in full production since 1994, with Lockheed Martin reaching the milestone of 50,000 units delivered in 2021. The weapon is a portable, fire-and-forget anti-tank system that can be shoulder-mounted by a single man and takes just a couple of days to learn how to use. Practically no conventional armor employed on the battlefield can stand up to it. Everything from soft targets to main battle tanks can be penetrated and destroyed through a combination of the Javelin's top and direct attack modes. So how is it made? The Javelin consists of a modular missile and a reusable command launch unit, or CLU, that comes packed into a disposable launch tube assembly. So once a missile is fired, using the CLU for guidance, the assembly used to fire it is discarded and the CLU is fitted into a different assembly. The full system weighs about 14 pounds, with the CLU being capable of passive target acquisition while also having thermal imaging and day sight capabilities built in. The former comes courtesy of DRS Technologies, which supplies second-generation thermal imaging technology based on a Duet assembly. As for the main Javelin round, it's made up of the launch tube assembly and a specially built Javelin missile. It can travel for up to 13,123 feet in normal operating conditions, with the missile also containing an advanced infrared seeker made using cadmium mercury telluride provided by BAE Systems Avionics. However, perhaps the most impressive thing about a Javelin is the unique construction that allows it to penetrate virtually any tank's armor. The warhead is fitted with a pair of charges, the first of which is a precursor warhead designed to overcome a tank's reactive armor. This type of armor typically explodes an incoming weapon on impact, damaging the armor but leaving the tank onto which it's equipped undamaged. The precursor warhead overcomes this initial explosion, opening the door for the main warhead to penetrate the tank's main armor so it can destroy the vehicle. The entire warhead is powered by a two-stage solid propellant design, allowing the missile to fly at speeds of up to 313 miles per hour. Ukraine has made good use of this weapon. It's built a reputation as a tank killer in an artillery-based war, with Ukraine's 79th Separate Airborne Assault Brigade also saying that the Javelin helps us a lot in major conflict zones like Donetsk. Speaking of artillery, we have our next weapon, the M777 howitzer, along with the 155mm shell that it fires. According to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, the US has sent more than 200 M777 howitzers to Ukraine, with those numbers being supplemented by smaller donations from other countries. Canada and Australia have offered a further 10, for instance, while other countries have offered similar 155mm artillery. The UK is a good example. It's shipped 20 M109A4BE and 30 AS90 howitzers, which can fire the same shells as the M777. Ukraine has also received 200,000 of the 155mm shells the howitzer fires, with Ukraine going on record as saying they need this system because it has a greater range than any of the Russian artillery systems it's coming up against. Back to America's howitzer, its manufacturer, BAE Systems, defines the M777 as its benchmark for 155mm lightweight towed artillery systems, with the weapon initially being developed for both use by the US Army and the US Air Force. It's a piece of towed artillery that can be moved via land, sea, or air, allowing it to be deployed, removed, and redeployed far more easily than many similar artillery systems. To date, the M777 is the howitzer of choice for the US, Australian, Canadian, and Indian militaries, with BAE Systems having sold over 1,200 units so far. BAE Systems also recently inked a $50 million deal for the howitzer with the US Army that will see it work with supply chains in both the US and the UK to build the titanium components required to make the weapons. So how is it made? The M777 is the result of a 5-year engineering and manufacturing development program, which resulted in the first system being delivered in June 2000. The howitzer makes extensive use of titanium, with its main body and castings being made using the metal, which results in it weighing almost 7,000 pounds less than the M198 howitzer it would ultimately replace. However, that lower weight also adds the previously mentioned portability. It has a .39 caliber barrel and can fire over a range of 15.3 miles when firing unassisted shells, or up to 8.6 miles if the shells are rocket-assisted. The second version of the howitzer, the M777A2, is also capable of firing Raytheon's XM982, also known as the Excalibur, which features a GPS-based guidance system that allows it to travel for up to 24.8 miles when striking a target with 32.8 feet of accuracy. A host of contractors are involved in building a single M777 howitzer. United Defense Industries, which BAE purchased in 2005, handles the final assembly and testing of the product. The titanium used to build it comes from RTI International Metals, with the UK-based Horstman Defence Systems providing the hydrostrut suspension system that gives the howitzer its mobility while helping to keep it stable as it fires. Mobility is a key advantage the M777 holds over Russia's artillery units. But when it comes to mobility on the field, there are few things better than drones. The war has ended up being the first war that's truly shown the full utility of drones in combat, with Ukraine using them effectively for reconnaissance and to destroy tanks, armored vehicles, and even ships in the Black Sea. And again, the US is involved with this particular type of weapon, as it's providing Switchblade 300 and Switchblade 600 drones to Ukraine. Often dubbed a loitering munition system, the Switchblade is made by AeroVironment, which says that it's already produced more than 1,000 drones for Ukraine by May 2023. The Switchblade 300s were the first to arrive, with a report from Defense Express stating that Ukraine's forces started using the model in the spring of 2022. The Unmanned Aerial Vehicle, or UAV, is often used as a kamikaze drone, as it can carry a warhead that's about as powerful as a hand grenade, which can be flown directly to a target. The Switchblade 300 weighs just 5.5 pounds, making it easily carryable and deployable from anywhere, has a flight endurance of 10 minutes, and can travel up to 6.2 miles away from the UAV's operator. The drone comes with a catapult to launch it, along with a laptop that a soldier can use to control it when it's in the skies. Then there's the Switchblade 600. Ukraine received its first donation of this upgraded Switchblade drone toward the end of 2022, with Popular Mechanics noting that it almost immediately put it to good use by using one to attack Russian forces. The Switchblade 600 is a bigger and heavier drone, weighing 50.7 pounds, but that weight has a purpose. The UAV is packed with a warhead that offers the firepower equivalent of a Javelin anti-tank missile, making it ideal for destroying armored vehicles and tanks. It can also travel much further than the Switchblade 300. The 600 can fly up to 24 miles away from its operator and has a 40-minute endurance. In truth, American donations of Switchblade drones are just a drop in the UAV ocean that Ukraine has developed. In March 2024, Ukraine revealed that it has the capacity to manufacture 150,000 drones per month on its own, meaning it may have a 2 million-strong fleet of drones come the end of 2024. Staying in the skies, we move on to the next system the US has donated to Ukraine, the Mi-17 helicopter. The US initially sent 5 of these choppers to Ukraine at the beginning of the war, followed by a supplementary package in April 2022 that delivered another 11, bringing the total to 20. But the Mi-17 has a secret: it's not American-made. Though the US was able to provide some of these helicopters to Ukraine, the chopper is actually a Russian design. Currently manufactured at a pair of factories in Ulan-Ude and Kazan, the Mi-17 was developed from the same basic airframe as the Mi-8 helicopter, though it's been fitted with much larger rotors, a bigger transmission, and the TV3-117MT engine, initially developed for Russia's Mi-14 chopper. Fuselage improvements over the Mi-8 also allow the Mi-17 to carry heavier loads. The chopper features sliding doors on both sides to enable loading, along with a cargo ramp at the rear. Its riveted fuselage is made of aluminium alloys and is split into 3 compartments: crew, cargo passenger, and tail. Beyond that, it's a classic single-rotor helicopter that can reach a top speed of 155 miles per hour and has a range of between 307 and 661 miles, depending on whether the operators load additional fuel canisters into the chopper. The helicopter isn't the most effective weapon the US has donated to Ukraine, with its use mostly being relegated to troop and equipment transport. Still, it gives Ukraine a handful of extra options in the skies. Plus, its Russian origins means Ukraine is already more than familiar with how the chopper works. Moving on from a piece of equipment with Russian origins, we come to a weapon that's as American as apple pie: the Patriot missile defense system. As of June 2024, Ukraine had just 2 of these systems, one from the US and another jointly donated by Germany and the Netherlands, though President Joe Biden approved the deployment of a second from the US in June that will bring the total to 3, with 2 more additions from Germany and Romania. Designed by Raytheon, the Patriot is regarded as the most advanced air defense weapon in America's arsenal, as it features a radar detection system and a host of mobile launchers that fire off missiles to intercept incoming threats. Zelensky says that Ukraine needs even more Patriots. He says that 7 is the magic number to protect its major cities from the 3,000 missiles, rockets, drones, and other projectiles that strike Ukraine monthly. The Patriot is far older than many think. First developed as a concept in 1961, it started life as the Army Air Defense System as a replacement for the Nike Hercules and Hawk systems. The US Army renamed the development program to Surface-to-Air Missile Development, or SAMD, in 1967, and it's undergone significant upgrades since then. January 1974 saw the Department of Defense transform the SAMD into a track-via missile system, which required the construction of a guidance system allowing the weapon to track incoming missiles. 2 years later, the SAMD was renamed again, becoming the Phased Array Tracking Radar to Intercept on Target, or Patriot. The system entered full production in September 1980, with the US Army achieving its first Patriot battalion a little under 2 years later. Today, the Patriot missile system is built by Raytheon out of its Massachusetts facility, with Lockheed Martin Missiles and Fire Control creating the missiles from its factory in Florida. Raytheon builds the M901 launching station, which is used for transporting, aiming, and launching Patriot missiles. These launchers can each hold 4 missiles and are remotely operated via a control station to which it links either via a fiber optic cable or a very high-frequency data link. That station, the technical name being the AN/MSQ-104X, is the only manned aspect of the Patriot system. It's built to contain 3 operators, who combine to use the station's pair of consoles and communication system. More recent Patriot systems may also incorporate the modern MAN stations, which is an upgrade on the command station that offers a full color user interface and LCDs. As of the end of 2023, 18 countries use the Patriot missile system, with Raytheon often working with manufacturers in those countries to streamline production processes. For instance, Raytheon works with Rheinmetall in Germany and has struck up a partnership with the Swiss firm RUAG to enable Switzerland to use the air defense solution. So the Patriot helps Ukraine deal with missile and drone threats in the skies. Let's switch focus back to the ground for our next US weapon. Russia has made heavy use of tanks throughout the war, going so far as to pull old Soviet-era tanks out of storage to ensure it maintains heavy numbers on the field. One of Ukraine's counters to this approach comes from a classic American tank, the M1 Abrams. Granted, Ukraine doesn't have many of these. It received 31 of them in January 2023, following a long campaign by Zelensky in which he argued that these tanks would prove vital to Ukraine's ability to penetrate the Russian front lines. That may have been the case early in the war. However, Russia has been just as adept as Ukraine at using drones for maintenance and destruction, meaning the 31 M1 Abrams tanks Ukraine received have since been pulled away from the front lines. It had also lost 5 of those tanks as of April 2024, an expensive loss given that each M1 Abrams costs $10 million to make. Often called one of the most advanced battle tanks in the world, the M1 Abrams is currently manufactured by General Dynamics Land Systems, which builds the tank for the US Army and Marine Corps. The tank has a 1,500 horsepower gas turbine engine and can travel for up to 265 miles at a maximum speed of 42 miles per hour before it needs to refuel. The tank weighs 68 tons and comes equipped with a 120mm smoothbore gun, which is versatile enough to fire several types of ammunition. The most modern version of the tank is the M1A2, which entered production in 1990 and has a range of upgrades over the M1A1 that came before. These include a redesigned commander's weapon station, which now includes a thermal viewer, and a complete internal redesign that allows the tank to incorporate modern technology. This includes the inter-vehicle information system and the position navigation system, with the former allowing a continuous exchange of information with other vehicles, while the latter enables tracking other vehicles without needing a dedicated crew. Beyond the 120mm cannon, the M1 Abrams also features a 50 caliber M2 machine gun and an M240 coaxial machine gun, making it a clear threat to ground-based troops and many armored vehicles. It's just a shame Ukraine hasn't been able to make the best possible use of the tank, as the war's complexion has constantly evolved. Finally, we come to the weapon system that may prove most valuable to Ukraine now that it has officially invaded Russian territory with its Kursk incursion: Army Tactical Missile System, or ATACMS. Zelensky constantly pushes the US to allow it to use the ATACMS missiles it's provided on Russian soil. America hasn't given the go-ahead yet. But with the success of the Kursk invasion comes the crossing of another red line, meaning it may not be long before the US is confident enough to allow ATACMS use in Russia. Ukraine doesn't have many of these missiles. Forbes says it received a batch of around 20 toward the end of 2023, but it's received several dozen more comparable missiles from its other allies. As for the ATACMS, it's manufactured by Lockheed Martin, with the missile range being 186.4 miles. It uses an inertial navigation system, utilizing GPS, for guidance, and is compatible with the HIMARS and M270 multiple launch rocket system. Missile Threat says that each ATACMS is 13 feet long and can have a launch weight that varies between 3,688 pounds for the Block 1 variant and 2,912 pounds for the Block 1A version. It's designed to be loaded with high explosive or HE warheads, though it can also carry HE blast fragmentation warheads containing anywhere between 300 and 950 submunitions. The blocks used to fire the missiles are vehicle-based, making them road-mobile, with the ATACMS itself being a single-stage missile that uses solid propellant fuel. Interestingly, a Block 2 ATACMS was in development around the turn of the millennium, with that ATACMS being designed specifically as an anti-tank system that could take a many-to-many approach to tackling tanks on the ground. In other words, the system would be able to fire multiple missiles at once, each with a 590-pound warhead and capable of traveling up to 87 miles to take on fleets of tanks. As useful as a system like that may have been in Ukraine, it never came to be. The US scrapped Block 2 funding in 2002. With that, we've completed our dive into the deadliest weapons, along with a handful of pieces of protective gear that the US has sent to Ukraine since February 2022. Some of these systems have proven more useful than others. The Javelin and Patriot are the likely standouts, yet each has its role to play in helping Ukraine achieve victory over Russia. So what do you think about these weapons? Can Ukraine really use them to defeat Russia, or is more needed for Zelensky to overcome Putin's tactic of sending soldier after soldier into the meat grinder that Russia's created? Tell us your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for watching the video. Now go and check out Most Deadly US Military Weapons, or click this other video instead.